I framed my colleague for theft, and no one to this day knows it was me. Hi, Aunt Jay. This happened years ago, but I still think about it far more than I'd like to admit. It's one of those things that you do in the heat of resentment and then wish you could undo, but you just can't. I worked in a small office, around 15 of us, and for the most part, it was a decent place to work. Well, that was until she arrived. I'll call her Laura. From the very first week, I just could not stand her. I mean, she wasn't cruel in an obvious way, but she just had this knack of making you feel like you were beneath her. If you said something wrong, she'd correct you in front of everyone with this sort of smirk on her face. If you made a mistake, she'd make a little joke that got everyone laughing at your expense. It was subtle, but it chipped away at me over time. I'd go home angry some nights, replaying the things she said to me and wishing that I'd spoken up. At first, I tried to ignore her. I told myself not to rise to it. But day after day, she'd find new little ways to humiliate me and other people too. And over time, my dislike for her grew into something deeper. I started to actually hate her. Around that time, there were whispers going around the office about money going missing. Small amounts like 15, 20 quid going missing from people's drawer and the petty cash. That had been going on for about more than a month. And the atmosphere changed. People started becoming suspicious of each other. There was gossip about there being a thief among us and no one really trusting each other. And that's when I got the idea. Now I wish I could say that I pushed it away, but I didn't. And one day, after yet another team meeting where she rolled her eyes at me and people had a laugh at my expense, I decided that enough was enough. I wanted her to be humiliated for once. I wanted her to be the one that people whispered about. I waited until most people had gone out to lunch and the office was quiet. My heart was pounding the whole time. I opened the petty cash tin and took about £300 to £400. It had to be a significant amount. I didn't want management just to shrug it off as an accounting error. And then, before I could talk myself out of it, I slipped the money into Laura's handbag hanging from the back of her chair. The moment it was done, I felt unsettled and shivery. I calmly sat back at my desk and tried to focus on my work. I kept glancing at her handbag, half expecting her to look inside, but she didn't. She came back and just started work as usual. Less than an hour later, one of the managers came storming into the office. He was furious. Said a large sum of money had gone missing and they were not going to let it slide this time. Everyone had to be searched before they left. I can't tell you how fast my heart was just racing. But there was nothing I could do but sit there and act normal. When they reached Laura's desk and opened her bag, the room felt silent and the bungles of notes sitting right there. She just kept saying, "It's not mine, it's not mine, I don't know how it got there." She was crying, panicking, looking around the room like someone might step in and believe her. But no one did. After weeks of rumours and missing cash, they were convinced they'd finally found their thief. Security was called and they stood by her desk while she packed her things. People whispered to each other. A few said they weren't surprised. Others looked disappointed. And I just sat there, pretending to be as shocked as everyone else. It felt like I was watching everything in slow motion. The office never felt the same after that, and people talked about it constantly. Some were saying that she's lucky that the company didn't call the police, and others thought that she must have been getting away with it for ages. I'd just nod my head and agree with all of them and said, yeah, it's true. I told myself that it was done now. She'd made my life miserable, and this was just karma. Weeks later, I bumped into Laura in town. I nearly crossed the road to avoid her, but she spotted me first. She didn't look like the same confident person that I'd known. She looked tired and smaller somehow, beaten down. She told me she still couldn't find any work. No one wanted to hire someone who'd been sacked for theft. And her marriage was starting to feel the strain. She told me that the company had actually written to her and said they'd considered pressing charges, but decided not to in the end. She still couldn't understand how the money had gotten into her bag and said she absolutely did not steal it. I just stood there nodding, telling her how sorry I was to hear about it all. I gave her a hug before I left and told her I hoped things would get better. I told myself for a long time that she deserved it, that she had it coming, but deep down I know the truth. I destroyed her life. And even though she has no idea it was me, I still think about her more than I want to. Not the smug woman from the office, but the broken one crying as she walked out, or the one standing in the high street trying to piece together how her life had fallen apart. Without ever knowing, I was the one that did it. What do you think of today's confession story? Have you ever taken revenge in such a cruel way? Let me know in the comments section. Let's keep the conversation going. This is the second story of my 10-part confession series. Thank you so much for watching, and subscribe if you enjoy true stories and dilemmas. I post videos every single week. But until next time, guard your heart and protect your peace.